For many children, home is not a happy or a safe place. The NSPCC says 1 in 5 have lived with an adult that's perpetrated domestic abuse.
4 years ago, the Domestic Abuse Act for England and Wales formally recognised children who've seen, heard or experienced the effects of abuse as victims in their own right.
Recognised in law, but overlooked in reality. In a new report shared first with Channel 4 News, the Domestic Abuse Commissioner for England and Wales found the help offered to children was inadequate, with their voices marginalised, and child victims often shown a lack of empathy. A failure to listen meant children were left in unsafe situations. Nicole Jacobs' report found specialist children's services are under strain. Funding cuts means around a quarter have had to shut in the last 5 years.
We have over 800,000 children in England and Wales who are subject to domestic abuse last year alone. Imagine what it feels like to grow up in a home with domestic abuse. For those children, they're isolated, they live in fear. It's pretty dire. You know, we have services that are having to turn children away, services that don't exist in some areas, services that have half of which have waiting lists. That is not good enough for children who are really suffering.
Are we failing those children who are growing up surrounded by domestic abuse?
Yes, I would say it is a failure to know that that is the reality and to not have a structure in government in terms of a strategy and a resource that is specifically for those children. This is an issue that has been ignored for many, many years, decades, and children deserve so much more.
Martha, not her real name, has just turned 18. The legacy of growing up in a household dominated by domestic abuse and then feeling let down by the system afterwards is clear.
I think back to that house and all I can think of is darkness. His behaviour was so unpredictable. It was just nowhere safe. Everywhere was interrupted by his presence, by his violence. I had to have teachers walk me to the car park to have my mum come and pick me up in case he tried to come to the school. Children who witness domestic abuse are in many senses forgotten. I don't think that there were really any systems in place that were supposed to help me that did. I felt failed by every single one. The police, social services, courts, healthcare, school, all of them. And it just felt very much like letdown after letdown after letdown.
In Liverpool, the NSPCC runs a programme for mothers and their children which helps them repair their relationship after abuse, to understand what they've been through and find ways to open up to one another.
So the squishy sensory toys, which again really great if they're sort of engaging in an activity that can be quite upsetting or triggering for them, and they can just use that, really helps. Mums might think, well, my child wasn't even in the room, they've not heard any of this. Actually, child's listening upstairs, absolutely petrified of what is happening to mum downstairs. Child goes into school, can't focus on schoolwork, feels anxious, feels sick, and it's because they know that mum's at home with the partner who's being abusive towards her. So the whole focus is on, I can't wait to get home to be with mum, because they want to check that she's safe.
And is there a sense sometimes that the child has lost faith that mum can keep them safe?
Absolutely. And more often than not, we see that children are actually physically harmed in incidents that happen within the home. And you see why parents' relationships start breaking down with the children, because they do lose confidence in the mum. If that's not repaired, if they don't get opportunity to understand and work on some of this stuff, then that relationship remains fractured.
My eldest, she started staying in her room more and not speaking to me anymore, hiding away.
Domestic abuse can damage the child's bond with the parent who's been abused. Tanya, not her real name, lived in fear of a man who controlled everything, what she could do and say, and was physically violent. She didn't realise her child could hear what was going on.
She had gone from being happy and friendly, and then she just started being aggressive and nasty towards the teachers and her peers. I thought it was all my fault and I was the one to blame for staying there, for listening to it, for enduring it for so long and being the reason for the breakdown in the communication with my child.
The government only funds a small part of this programme, and funding cuts mean around a quarter of specialist children's services like this have had to shut in the last 5 years.
Obviously legislation has been passed and children are recognised in their own right, but what we want to make sure is that as the support services become available for them, that they're there for them, so we get the referrals into our services through the right avenues, and that's brilliant to have, and the families that we support are really welcoming of our service. But equally, if there isn't the funding from government for that, then we aren't going to be able to support those families in time.
The team here has helped Tanya and her child to reconnect. They're closer than ever, and they can look to the future.
Coming here, they've helped me put it in ways which help her understand, and we can communicate a lot better. She just opens up more. I'm more confident as a parent, as a woman. The chain's been broken.
Well, the government told us tonight that it welcomed the Domestic Abuse Commissioner's report, promising to issue a formal response in the coming months. And if you've been affected by any of the issues in that report, you can seek help by going to channel4.com/support.